I am Alexis Carter, 32 years old. For years, my family made fun of me, dismissed my drive, and shoved me to the sidelines while praising my sister's every move. At our Christmas party in suburban Denver, my mom burst out laughing as she jabbed a finger my way. "Get in the garage," she commanded, her voice cutting through the room like a whip. My sister, her colleagues, even her boss erupted in laughter, piling on as if it was the punchline of the year. I gripped the table edge, my knuckles white, silent fury building. Then suddenly my sister's phone rang. She answered, her smirk fading fast. An unknown number. The voice on the line delivered the blow: "Kneel, or lose everything." Her face drained of color, and that's when I knew the unraveling had begun. Before I reveal how I went from that humiliating push to the garage, to watching their worlds collapse, and what that chilling call truly unleashed. Let me know where you're watching from, maybe amid your own holiday chaos. Growing up in suburban Denver wasn't easy for me. My family always prized the standard path to success. My parents, Linda and Paul Carter, had clear visions of achievement, top schools, safe jobs, and the kind of respect that came from fitting in. They pushed for stability above all. My older sister, Victoria, now 38, hit every mark they set. She went to a top business school, earned her MBA, and climbed to marketing director at a major pharmaceutical partner firm. Family events turned into her spotlight sessions, with Linda gushing over her promotions and Paul nodding approval at her steady rise. My younger brother, Zachary, 28, caught on quick. He majored in finance, landed a spot at a solid firm, and made associate fast. Paul would light up talking about Zachary's bonuses, and Linda's tone softened with pride whenever his name came up. Me, I was the odd one out, the middle child who never fit their mold. From age 10, biotech fascinated me. While kids skied the Rockies or played in the snow, I holed up with books on genetics and lab kits from the science store downtown. I'd mix solutions in our basement, dreaming of breakthroughs in vaccines or gene therapies. Linda saw it as a distraction. "Alexis, join a real activity," she'd say. "Colleges want leaders, not kids tinkering alone." Paul agreed, calling it a hobby I'd outgrow for something practical. High school made the divide clearer. Victoria ruled as student council head and homecoming star. I started a biotech club that met in the lab after hours dissecting DNA models and entering science fairs. Teachers called my ideas innovative, but at home it was lack of commitment. Paul griped after I switched from one experiment to building a simple gene sequencer prototype. "Finish what you start," like Victoria. What they missed was my process. I wasn't quitting, I was iterating, learning from each trial to improve the next. One project on microbial resistance taught me coding for simulations, leading to my first app for tracking lab data. College seemed like my chance to bridge the gap. I started in business to please them but dove into biotech electives. By my second year, I had a breakthrough idea, a platform for rapid gene editing in therapeutics, drawing interest from small labs. When I dropped out to launch it full-time, the backlash hit hard. "You're ruining your future," Paul said over dinner, his disappointment thick. "We raised you better than this quitter nonsense." Linda chimed in. "No security, no future, who hires dropouts?" Victoria, visiting, smirked. "Some people aren't built for the big leagues, Mom. Let her learn." The digs never stopped. Gatherings became Victoria's stage, her luxury SUV designer outfits tales of leading campaigns for drug launches. Paul introduced her at neighborhood barbecues with pride while dodging questions about me. Victoria just sealed a multi-million deal, he'd boast. For me, Alexis is still experimenting. 3 years back at a Thanksgiving meal, I tried sharing my first funding round success. Victoria cut in with her latest award. Linda toasted her for getting my words. That sealed it. I'd stop chasing their nods. I'd keep my progress hidden until the moment was right. My venture, BioNova Innovations, started as a gene therapy startup. It grew fast into a full biotech suite, securing patents and partners. Within 2 years, we expanded to Denver's tech hubs. By year 3, international deals rolled in. I built alliances, snapped up startups, and plowed profits back in all under a low profile. As CEO, I stayed anonymous, letting execs handle spotlights. It was strategy against rivals, but mostly personal. I wasn't ready for my family to know. The double life wore on me. I owned a high-rise condo in downtown Denver but told them I rented a basic unit. I drove an old Subaru to visits, leaving my electric fleet garaged. I fielded jabs about getting a real job while sealing billion-dollar contracts. 5 years post-dropout, I pulled off the coup, acquiring the pharmaceutical partner where Victoria built her career. The irony stung sweet. Soon my perfect sister would report to the family flop without knowing it. The papers landed on my desk a week before Christmas. I traced the logo, now mine. Courtney asked about announcing to their staff. I held off. One last holiday with the old roles intact. The invite came cold via text: Christmas party at 6. Confirm if coming. No warmth. I replied yes, though tempted to skip. 5 years of their scorn had prepped me for the routine: Victoria's boasts, Linda's veiled digs, Paul's silence, Zachary's quiet support of the status quo. Despite my success, I drove the Subaru through Denver's snow to their suburban home. I parked behind unfamiliar cars. Inside, Victoria had guests: Stephen Harris, her boss VP at the partner firm, and a few colleagues. The setup screamed her show. Alexis meets Stephen. Victoria said though we'd never crossed paths. She wore a sleek dress flashing confidence. Stephen suited up, extended a hand. Linda called from the kitchen. Alexis, help with prep. Victoria and Stephen are chatting with your dad in the living room. The pattern kicked in: me on chores, them on glory. I chopped veggies, hearing laughs. How's the executive suite, Stephen? Paul asked. View of the mountains must be killer. It is, Stephen replied, though our elusive new owner probably has better. Ears perked, I smiled inwardly. My office topped Bionova's tower with Rocky's vistas. Met the new CEO, Paul pressed. No one has, Victoria jumped in, like a shadow flipping everything without showing up. Her face, I thought, peeling potatoes. Alexis, how's that lab hobby? Paul remembered me. Any progress? I bit back. My hobby had just bought Victoria's partner firm for $3 billion. It's moving, I said vaguely. There's an assistant role opening at our firm. Victoria offered, grabbing wine. Basic but real experience, I could vouch. Her tone grated. If she knew, I'd evaluate her soon. Thanks, but I'm good, I replied. She shrugged off. Snippets drifted in: Linda whispering, at least Zachary's advancing. Alexis at 32 still chasing fantasies. Paul agreed. Victoria's offered help, but some won't take it. I shut my eyes, the sting familiar but dulled by success. My phone buzzed: Courtney on the acquisition. Retention plans set for key staff. Stephen Harris included, as you directed. I grinned. Stephen had no clue his fate rested with the woman in this kitchen. The tipping point hit before mains. In the hall checking email, I overheard Linda and Victoria in the guest room. Stephen gets this room, Linda said. Paul and I in ours, Zachary in his, you in yours. And Alexis? Victoria asked, knowing. The garage works. One night, plenty of blankets. Victoria chuckled. Fits her dreamer vibe, roughing it. My pulse raced. Denver December garage unheated amid Rocky's snow. 5 years enduring now this banishment. I stood in that hallway, their words about the garage echoing in my head, and it took me back to the moment I broke free. Dropping out of college was my first rebellion. 2 years into business school, trying to please Linda and Paul, I knew my heart wasn't in it. My biotech electives had sparked something: a platform for rapid gene editing that could transform therapeutics. Small labs were already buzzing about it. I pitched it to a professor who connected me with a local biotech incubator in Denver. That was my shot. One night, I sat my parents down. I'm leaving school to start my company. I said, voice steady despite the nerves. Paul's face hardened. You're throwing away everything we planned for you. This is reckless, Alexis. Linda shook her head, her disappointment sharp. No degree, no stability. What kind of life is that? Look at Victoria. She's building something real. Victoria, there for the weekend, leaned back with a smug grin. Not everyone can handle the pressure, Mom. Some crash early. I swallowed the sting, refusing to argue. Their words only fueled me. If they wouldn't believe in me, I'd prove them wrong on my terms. I launched BioNova Innovations with a small loan and a rented lab space in Denver's biotech district. My platform, a gene editing tool for precise vaccine development, caught early attention. Within months, I secured my first angel investor $50,000 to refine the prototype. I taught myself regulatory frameworks, hired a lean team of scientists, and coded data trackers at night. The first year was brutal. Sleepless nights, endless grant applications, and constant doubt from my family. At a family barbecue, Paul cornered me. Still playing with your science project? When are you going back to school? It's not a project, I said, keeping my tone even. It's a business. He scoffed. Businesses have paychecks, Alexis. You're wasting time. Victoria, overhearing, tossed in. I could get you an internship at my firm. Entry level, but it's a start. Her condescension burned, but I smiled tightly. I'm fine, thanks. What they didn't know was that BioNova was gaining traction. By year 2, we landed a major contract with a regional hospital network to streamline their vaccine trials. That brought in $2 million in seed funding. I reinvested every cent, expanding our lab and hiring top talent. My team developed a secondary platform for gene therapy analytics, which drew global interest. I kept it all under wraps. Only my assistant Courtney Green knew the full scope. She joined me early, a sharp biotech grad who believed in my vision. Courtney handled logistics while I focused on strategy, keeping my name out of public filings. Anonymity was deliberate. Competitors underestimated us, and I wasn't ready to face my family's judgment. Year 3 marked our leap. BioNova went international, partnering with European research institutes. Our patents multiplied, and we acquired a small data firm to bolster our analytics. Profits soared, and I funneled them into growth. By year 4, we had offices in Denver, Boston, and London. I bought a condo downtown but told my family I was scraping by in a rented studio. The secrecy took a toll. I'd sit in boardrooms closing 7-figure deals, then drive my beat-up Subaru to family dinners, hearing Linda fret about my unstable life. Victoria would parade her latest bonus or corner office, while Paul nodded like she invented the wheel. Zachary stayed quiet, but his silence screamed allegiance to their hierarchy. I endured it because I had a plan. Let them think I was floundering. Let them underestimate me. The truth would hit harder that way. 5 years after dropping out, I orchestrated the move that changed everything. BioNova acquired the pharmaceutical partner where Victoria worked, a major player in drug distribution tied to our platforms. The deal, finalized a week before Christmas, was worth $3 billion. I held the signed papers, the logo now stamped with BioNova's name. Victoria, the sister who saw me as a failure, was about to report to me without a clue. Courtney asked if we should notify their staff. Not yet, I said. Let the holidays pass. I wanted one final Christmas with their old assumptions intact. One last chance to see their faces before the mask came off. The acquisition was my trump card, but it wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my place. For years, I'd carried their doubts like weights, dropping out, building BioNova, hiding it all. It was my way of proving I didn't need their approval to define my worth. But the cost was real. I lived 2 lives: the CEO commanding a global empire, and the daughter they pitied. I'd answer emails from investors while Linda asked when I'd settle down. I signed off on mergers while Victoria offered me starter jobs. The irony kept me going. That Christmas, I knew the dynamic would shift. The papers were ready. The deal was done. My family thought they knew me, a dreamer chasing dead ends. They had no idea I held their world in my hands. Driving to their house that night, I felt the weight of 5 years. The snow-covered Rockies loomed outside Denver, a reminder of the cold waiting for me. I parked my Subaru, steeling myself for the party ahead. The weight of that drive through Denver's snow lingered as I stepped into the final week before Christmas. My biggest move yet had just closed. BioNova Innovations acquired the pharmaceutical partner where my sister Victoria built her career, a powerhouse in drug distribution tied to our biotech platforms. The deal, worth $3 billion, was finalized 7 days ago. I sat at my desk staring at the contract, the partner's logo now under BioNova's seal. The irony was sharp. Victoria, who saw me as a dead-end dreamer, would soon answer to me without a hint. Courtney, my assistant, leaned in. "Should we alert their staff now?" I shook my head. "Hold off until after the holidays. Let them have their celebrations." What I didn't say was I wanted one last party where they thought they knew me. One final night to face their smug dismissal before the truth hit. The text from Linda came as cold as the Rockies' winter. "Christmas party, 6 p.m. Reply if you're coming." No warmth, just duty. I typed back a quick yes, though every instinct screamed to stay away. 5 years of their judgment had hardened me for this. Victoria's endless bragging, Linda's subtle jabs, Paul's quiet disapproval, Zachary's passive loyalty to their pecking order. It was a script I knew by heart. Despite owning a global empire, I drove my old Subaru to their suburban Denver home, the snow crunching under my tires. I pulled up behind a sleek black Audi I didn't recognize. Inside, I saw why. Victoria had brought guests, her boss Stephen Harris, VP of Marketing at her firm, and a couple of her colleagues in sharp suits. The air buzzed with her usual show-off energy. Alexis, you've met Stephen, right?" Victoria said, her tone dripping with superiority, though we'd never spoken. She wore a tailored red dress, her confidence screaming money. "Actually, no," I said, offering my hand. "Nice to meet you." Stephen shook it, his smile polite but distracted, like I was barely worth noticing. I'd dressed down jeans, a plain sweater to play the part they expected, the underachieving sister. Linda called from the kitchen doorway. "Alexis, help with the appetizers. Victoria and Stephen are catching up with your dad in the living room." There, it was the same old divide. Victoria schmoozed with the important guests. I was sent to chop cheese and arrange crackers. I nodded, biting back the urge to snap, and headed to the kitchen. Laughter spilled from the living room. "So, Stephen, how's the new office?" Paul asked, his voice warm with admiration. "Heard it's got a view of the peaks." "Prime spot," Stephen replied. "Though I bet the new owner's got a better one. Whoever they are." I smirked to myself, slicing cheddar. My corner office at BioNova's tower overlooked the entire Rockies range. "Any word on this mystery CEO?" Paul pressed, curious. Victoria jumped in before Stephen could answer. "No one's met them. Total ghost, making big moves, shaking things up, but never shows." Her face, I thought, arranging the platter with deliberate care. "Alexis, how's that little science thing going?" Paul called out, his tone half-hearted, like he was checking a box. "It's coming along," I said, keeping it vague. My little science thing had just swallowed Victoria's company whole. "There's a junior role opening at our firm," Victoria said, sauntering in for a wine refill. "Data entry, nothing big, but it's steady. I could pull strings." The offer was a jab, her voice laced with pity. She had no idea I'd be signing her performance reviews soon. "I'm okay where I am," I replied, my jaw tight. "Your call," she said with a shrug, gliding back to her audience. I caught fragments of their chatter as I set out the appetizers. Linda's voice dropped low. "Zachary's doing so well at his firm, promoted last month. But Alexis still messing with experiments at her age." Paul sighed. "Victoria's tried to help her, but she's stubborn. You can't save someone who won't listen." The words cut, but I'd heard them before. 5 years of success had built a shield, though the ache never fully faded. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a message from Courtney. "Acquisition docs finalized. Retention plans locked, including Stephen Harris per your orders." I stifled a grin. Stephen chatting up my dad had no clue his job security now rested in my hands. The party unfolded as expected. Victoria held court, dazzling Stephen and her colleagues with stories of her latest campaign, a multi-million-dollar drug launch. Linda hung on every word, her eyes gleaming with pride. Paul nodded along, tossing in questions to keep her shining. Zachary chimed in now and then, mentioning his firm's growth, earning quick approval. When I spoke, which was rare, my words landed like stones in a pond, brief ripples, then ignored. I mentioned a recent biotech conference I'd attended, hoping for a spark of interest. Linda gave a polite smile before asking Victoria about her next project. Paul changed the topic to Stephen's golf game. The table was set for dinner, a spread of turkey stuffing and cranberry sauce, the kind of holiday perfection Linda loved to stage. She'd placed Stephen at the head, Paul opposite Victoria and her colleagues close by, and Zachary next to them. I was at the far end next to an empty chair, as if my presence was an afterthought. Stephen, to his credit, tried once. "So Alexis, you're into biotech?" he asked during a lull, his tone curious but skeptical. "Victoria mentioned you tinker with it." Before I could answer, Victoria laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. "Oh, Alexis plays with lab stuff. Small scale, not like what we do. I work on gene editing platforms," I said, meeting Stephen's eyes. "Vaccine development mostly." His brows lifted slightly, a flicker of interest. "That's big right now. We've got partners in that space. What's your focus?" Victoria cut in, touching his arm. "Let's not bore everyone with tech talk. Tell them about the new ad campaign instead." The conversation swerved, my moment snuffed out. Stephen hesitated, then followed her lead, launching into a story about their firm's latest pitch. I leaned back, the familiar pattern locking into place. Dinner dragged on. Victoria's voice dominated, recounting client wins and boardroom triumphs. Linda beamed, offering her seconds of pie. Paul toasted her success, his glass raised high. Zachary added a story about his firm's audit, earning a nod. My attempts to join mentions of biotech trends or industry shifts were met with blank stares or quick subject changes. The dismissal wasn't new, but tonight it felt heavier. I'd just bought their world, yet here I was, invisible, at their table. Linda's laughter, Victoria's smug grin, Paul's indifference, Zachary's silence. It all piled up, pressing against the secret I'd held for 5 years. The sting of their dismissal at the dinner table clung to me as I carried empty plates to the kitchen. Before the main course ended, I slipped into the hallway to check an urgent email from Courtney. That's when I overheard Linda and Victoria in the guest bedroom, their voices low but clear through the cracked door. "Stephen's in here, obviously," Linda said, adjusting pillows. "Paul and I take our room. Zachary's in his old one, and you've got yours, Victoria." "What about Alexis?" Victoria asked, her tone smug, like she already knew the answer. Linda didn't hesitate. "The garage is fine for her. It's just one night. We've got blankets and the cots there." Victoria laughed, sharp and cold. "Perfect. She's used to scraping by with her little experiments." My chest tightened, pulse hammering. The garage in Denver's December snow was a frozen box, unheated, stuffed with old junk. 5 years of swallowing their scorn, and now they were shoving me out like an afterthought. I gripped my phone, fighting the urge to barge in. I stepped back to the kitchen, pretending I hadn't heard, and finished clearing plates. Linda breezed in, barely glancing at me. "Alexis, grab some blankets from the closet. You're set for the garage tonight." Her casual tone made my skin prickle. "The garage isn't heated," I said, voice flat. "We've got a space heater," Paul called from the dining room like it was a favor. "You'll manage." Stephen shifted uncomfortably at the table. "The garage. It's below freezing out there." "She's fine," Victoria said, waving it off with a smirk. "Alexis likes roughing it, don't you, sis?" Her condescension lit a fire in me. She'd orchestrated this, dragging Stephen and her colleagues here to ensure I'd be pushed out. I forced a nod. "Sure. I've got work to do anyway." After dinner, Linda led me to the garage. The space was worse than I'd imagined, cluttered with dusty boxes, a broken treadmill, and tangled Christmas lights. A sagging cot sat in the center, a thin mattress topped with a pile of mismatched blankets. A rickety space heater, probably older than me, stood nearby. "It's just one night," Linda said, avoiding my eyes. "You're always on your phone anyway." She left the door clicking shut. I sat on the cot, the cold seeping through my sweater. My phone showed the temperature outside 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside the garage, maybe a few degrees warmer, but not much. I opened my laptop, the screen's glow sharp in the dim space. An email from Courtney waited. "Final acquisition details need your sign-off. Partner staff, including Victoria and Stephen, set for notification post-holiday. Approve, now." The plan was to wait until morning, let the news hit their inboxes with the sunrise. But sitting there, the weight of their laughter and that freezing cot pressing in, I reconsidered. Why delay? Why let them have one more night thinking they'd won? I texted Courtney. "Call Victoria now. Use the secure line. Tell her kneel or lose everything. Make it clear her job's on the line if she doesn't play ball with the new structure." Courtney replied instantly. "Got it. I'll make it quick and pointed. Timing. Now." I typed, my fingers steady despite the chill. She's in the living room with her boss. Hit her where it hurts. This wasn't just about the acquisition. It was about flipping the script. Victoria had spent years parading her success, belittling mine. Now I'd let her feel the ground shift under her feet. Courtney's role was critical. She'd been with me since BioNova's early days, handling sensitive moves like this. The call would sound like a cryptic warning, but it was a calculated nudge, a message that her career hung by a thread I controlled. In biotech, post-acquisition restructures were brutal. Victoria's role tied to marketing fluff was expendable. She didn't know it yet, but I did. I pictured her face, smug, laughing just minutes ago when that call came through. The words, "kneel," or "lose everything" weren't literal. They were a power play, a signal that her world was about to change. Courtney would deliver it with just enough menace to make Victoria pause, but vague enough to keep my name out of it. I leaned back on the cot, the cold metal frame creaking. The space heater hummed uselessly, barely denting the icy air. My breath fogged in front of me, but my focus was razor sharp. 5 years of building an empire, of enduring their mockery, had led to this. Inside the party, laughter continued, their voices muffled through the walls. Victoria was probably still charming Stephen, Linda serving dessert, Paul playing the proud dad. Zachary, as usual, stayed quiet, blending into their hierarchy. My phone buzzed again. Courtney's confirmation call prepped, going through now. I waited, heart steady but pulse quickening. Any second Victoria's phone would ring, the unknown number would flash, and Courtney's voice would deliver the blow. The smug sister who'd laughed me into this garage would get her first taste of reality. The garage door rattled slightly in the wind, but I didn't flinch. The moment was close. The garage's chill hadn't let up when the moment I'd waited for arrived. Victoria's phone rang in the living room, cutting through the party's hum. I stayed in the shadows of the garage, my breath fogging, listening through the cracked door. Her voice, so confident minutes ago, faltered as she answered. "Hello. Who is this?" A pause. Then Courtney's voice, sharp and deliberate, came through the line. I'd told her exactly what to say. "Kneel or lose everything." Victoria's laugh was nervous, forced. "What? Who are you? What's this about?" "Your job," Courtney said, her tone cold but professional. "The new owners are restructuring. Play along or you're out." Victoria stammered, "New owners? That's not... Nobody told me." The call ended abruptly. I stepped back into the house, my pulse steady but quick. The living room was quieter now, the festive chatter replaced by tension. Victoria stood frozen, phone in hand, her face pale. Stephen, her boss, frowned beside her. "Everything okay?" She shook her head, voice tight. "Some cryptic call about the company. New owners restructuring. It doesn't make sense." Linda looked up from arranging dessert plates. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Paul leaned forward, concerned. "Trouble at work." Zachary, usually silent, shifted uncomfortably, sensing the shift. I walked in my jeans and sweater, a stark contrast to their polished looks, and set my laptop bag down deliberately. "Maybe we should talk," I said, my voice calm but firm. Linda turned, dishcloth in hand, caught off guard. "Alexis done setting up out there already?" "No," I said, holding her gaze. "Something's come up." Victoria's eyes darted to me, suspicion creeping in. "What do you know about this?" she demanded, her phone still clutched tight. Stephen's phone buzzed, now a string of urgent notifications. He scanned the screen, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. Emails from corporate. "The partner firm's been acquired, effective immediately. BioNova Innovations." Never heard of them. I let the silence hang heavy and deliberate. 5 years of hiding, of enduring their mockery, led to this. I opened my laptop, entered my secure code, and turned the screen toward them. The BioNova dashboard loaded real-time data, global operations, evaluation of $11 billion. "I'm the founder and CEO of BioNova Innovations," I said, my voice cutting through the room. "As of last week, I own your company's key partner." The air stilled. Linda's dishcloth slipped to the floor. Paul's mouth opened, wordless. Zachary froze a fork halfway to his plate. Victoria's eyes widened, her phone trembling in her hand. Stephen stared at the screen, then at me, piecing it together. "That's impossible," Victoria snapped, her voice shrill. "BioNova's a giant. You dropped out. You're nobody." "Nobody who built a biotech empire," I corrected, unflinching. 7,000 employees, 4 continents, and now your firm's distribution network. Check the dashboard." She lunged forward, scanning the screen. Her face drained further as she saw my name, Alexis Carter, CEO, embedded in the system. "This is a lie," she whispered, but her voice cracked with doubt. Paul found his voice. "You've been doing this all along." "Well, we thought." "You thought I was failing?" I finished, my tone even. "You made that clear every chance you got." Linda stepped forward, her hands twisting. "We were worried, Alexis. We wanted a secure life for you." "No," I said, my words sharp now. "You wanted me to be Victoria. When I chose my own path, you wrote me off." Victoria's laugh was bitter. "You're saying you've been playing us, hiding this to what, make us look stupid?" "I hid it to protect my work," I said. "And because I wanted you to see me for me, not my bank account." "You never did." Stephen, still processing, spoke up. "The acquisition? It's you. You're the shadow CEO we've been trying to pin down." I nodded. "I've been running BioNova for 5 years. The call to Victoria was my order, a heads up about what's coming." Victoria's eyes flashed. "You sent that call to threaten me." "Not a threat," I said. "A fact. Your role's at risk in the restructure. I decide who stays." Her face twisted, anger and fear colliding. "You can't do this. You're my sister, not my boss." "You made sure I was never your sister," I shot back. "You laughed me into a freezing garage tonight. You brought your boss to flaunt your success while shoving me aside." Linda's voice shook. "Alexis, we didn't know." "Don't," I cut her off, my hand raised. "You knew exactly how you treated me. All of you did." Paul stood, his voice unsteady. "We were wrong, okay. But this hiding billions, buying her company, it's too much." "Too much," I said, my frustration spilling over. "I built BioNova from nothing while you called me a failure. You never asked about my work, never cared. You banished me to a cot in the cold." Zachary finally spoke, his voice low. "I didn't know it was like that, Alexis. I should've. What?" I turned to him. "Said something, you picked their side every time." The room fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. Stephen's phone kept buzzing, ignored. Victoria's hands shook, her career unraveling in front of her. Linda's eyes glistened, but I felt no urge to comfort her. Paul stared at the floor, unable to meet my gaze. "You can't just destroy us," Victoria said, her voice breaking. "What are you going to do? Fire me? Ruin my life?" "I'm not here to ruin anyone," I said, closing my laptop. "Your firm will keep running, but changes are coming. Your job depends on your performance, not me. I'm done carrying your assumptions." Linda reached out, her voice desperate. "Alexis, please. We're family." "Family doesn't push family into a garage," I said, my voice cold. "You made your choices. Now live with them." I grabbed my bag, the room heavy with their shock. No apologies would undo years of dismissal. I wasn't here to forgive. The weight of that night lingered, but I didn't look back as I left the house. The next morning, Christmas Day, was quiet. Linda tried to act normal, setting out coffee and pastries, but the air was thick with unease. Paul avoided my eyes, stirring his mug. Victoria sat rigid, checking her phone obsessively, waiting for more news about the acquisition. Zachary hovered, his usual silence now laced with guilt. I ate quickly, answered a few work emails, and left before noon. No gifts were exchanged. No one had the stomach for it. 6 months later, the fallout was clear. BioNova's acquisition of the pharmaceutical partner rolled out as planned. The restructuring hit hard, especially for Victoria's team. Marketing roles like hers, heavy on flash but light on technical value, were the first to go. Layoffs swept through Denver's biotech scene, and Victoria was cut within weeks. She'd built her identity on that job, her corner office, her status. Now she scrambled for freelance gigs, her resume overshadowed by the industry shift I'd orchestrated. Friends in the sector told me she blamed me, calling it personal. It wasn't. It was business. Her performance didn't make the cut. Linda and Paul faced their own reckoning. News of the acquisition and my role as BioNova's CEO spread fast through Denver's tight-knit suburban circles. Local blogs and the Denver Post ran pieces on the mystery CEO revealed as a local daughter. Neighbors whispered about the Carters, how they dismissed their own kid only to learn she'd outdone them all. Invitations to community events dried up. Their usual barbecue circuit went silent. Linda tried calling me once, leaving a voicemail about talking things over. I didn't respond. Paul sent a text, short and stiff. We didn't know. I deleted it. Zachary reached out 2 months later. An email hesitant, saying he should have spoken up that night. He wrote about seeing me differently now, admiring what I'd built. I read it, felt a flicker of something, maybe pity, but didn't reply. He'd chosen his side for years. Words now were too late. I cut them off completely. No calls, no visits, no holiday cards. I blocked their numbers and moved my Denver condo to a new address they'd never know. It wasn't anger driving me, it was clarity. Family doesn't mock you into a freezing garage, doesn't dismiss your dreams for decades. I'd spent years seeking their approval only to realize it was never coming. So I stopped. My life shifted to those who saw me. Courtney became more than an assistant, a friend who'd believed in me from the start. We'd grab coffee downtown, laughing about BioNova's next moves. I mentored young biotech entrepreneurs, women like me, whose ideas were brushed off by traditional gatekeepers. My team expanded BioNova's reach, launching new gene therapies that saved lives. The work filled me in ways my family never could. One evening, standing on my condo's balcony overlooking the Rockies, I got a news alert. Victoria had posted a LinkedIn rant, vague but bitter, about unfair power plays in the industry. I didn't read past the headline. Her world had crumbled, but mine was soaring. Linda and Paul's social circle had shrunk to nothing, their pride replaced by whispers of their failure. Zachary, that I heard, was still at his firm, but quieter, carrying the weight of his silence. I'd once thought revealing my secret would bring triumph, a moment to savor their shock. But it didn't. It brought freedom. Cutting them out wasn't revenge, it was survival. I'd built an empire not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. Their validation was irrelevant. The lesson hit me hard: your worth isn't tied to those who can't see it. Family, blood or not, doesn't get a free pass to define you. Sometimes the strongest move is setting boundaries, walking away, and building your own circle, people who lift you up, not push you into the cold. I don't regret that Christmas. It burned away the last threads tying me to their expectations. Now I live for me, my work, my chosen family. The garage, the laughter, the dismissal, they're just echoes fading against the life I've claimed.